me, I'm hiding in the backseat. I bought a new car, we drove it up the lot. Bought the fuzzy dice, the price was right. We took it far on highways in air. The wind rushed through your hair. We were cruising the roads, you whispered your name into my ear. We're syncopated, intoxicated. Take on me, I'm hiding in the backseat. Vindicated, you'll never make it. Take on me, I'm hiding in the backseat. A work of art, the Toyota won't start. I look into your eyes, a boot pushes my face into the dirt. A work of art, the Toyota won't start. I look into your eyes, a boot pushes my face into the dirt. We're syncopated, intoxicated. Take on me, I'm hiding in the backseat. Vindicated, you'll never make it. Take on me, I'm hiding in the backseat. Car sick, I'm car sick. Car sick, I am car sick. Car sick, I'm car sick. Car sick, I am car sick. Car sick, I'm car sick. Car sick, I am car sick.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another Live with Lava Sub. I'm Lava Sub, or you can just call me Weston. I'm a little wiped. I spent this weekend with some very good friends in a haunted house in West Covina with a few of my friends from Sonoma County who drove all the way down. It was one of Kat's old high school buddies' birthdays. So we had a whole, I guess we didn't really have an itinerary, but we got into some shit, had a lot of fun. We went to a Ren Fair on Saturday. It's like one of the big ones and it's in West Covina, and we had so much fun. Sam, hello.
Hello.
I had a lot of fun at the Ren Fair, but every time, I met somebody, I was overheard somebody talking, I was just like, this is 100,000% Sam's vibe.
You're not wrong. You are absolutely not wrong.
Sam, yeah, so you love a Ren Fair.
I love a Ren Fair. I think my high school was the only one in Sonoma County that put on their own Ren Fair every spring. And I was very heavy into the theater department, so my nickname was the Shakespeare Girl.
I love that. I didn't know. Sonoma High?
Yeah, Sonoma Valley High.
Wow.
Go Dragons.
I didn't know they did a Ren Fair. I would have gone.
I don't know if they still do, because the theater teacher that used to do it passed. So I don't know if that's something that they've kept up with, but it's definitely something that happened while I was going to school there. I won't say when because, years and dates.
Who cares? Time is a flat circle. It's only a construct.
I've been 26 so many times that I've kind of lost track of how old I actually am.
We need to do something with a Ren Fair. If you're listening right now, tell us to get to book a table at a Ren Fair, book a booth, something. We'll figure out what to sell after that, because I'm pretty sure Nerdcrafty needs to do Ren Fairs or something like that. It's such a vibe. I had thought about it because I hadn't been to one since high school, and I really had fun back in the day. I think I just went with my buddy Tossie a couple of times. Tossie is a pair of twins. We're both incredibly kind, wonderful people who, like, I love their family. We spent a lot of time together. They introduced me to movies I'd never seen. Very important people in my life. Yeah, so, and they've been always very supportive of my art and pursuits of all of the different kinds of art that I pursue. So I just care very much for them. And Tossie was the person who introduced me to Ren fairs. They went, and we went together and had it was a whole time. There was one right down the street from where my dad lived in Anderson back when I was a kid. So it was really easy for me to get to. It was a park that I knew, so it was easy to navigate. I really had a great time at those Ren fairs, and I guess the crowds I ran with were not Ren fair crowds. Because I can't figure out a reason why I would have never gone back. And when Kat brought this up, we're going to a Ren fair, it was because all kind of happened last minute. Like, Mina had been planning it for a while, but me and Kat were so financially just like holding on by the skin of our teeth for so long, we weren't sure we were going to be able to do anything. But Mina had been planning the trip for a long time, and yeah, when Kat brought it up to me, like, oh, this is for sure happening, we're definitely going, I was just like, yeah, I was hit by a wave of questions that I hadn't asked myself for a long time. Like, a Ren fair, it's not really Renaissance anything. Like, I mean, you go to a Ren fair and half the people are dressed up in medieval clothes and celebrating medieval kinds of pursuits. There's so many different, like, people coming to cosplay.
Vegas.
Oh, I'm sure it's even more over the top because
it's
like
everything.
Yeah, it's fantasy, it's Renaissance, it's
Vikings.
Vikings, yeah, it runs the gamut. It's just kind of like, a weird thing. Everybody just kind of accept pirates. There were so many pirates at the Ren Fair in West Covina.
You get your fantasy creatures as well, like people dressed as dragons, people dressed as fairies.
100%, yeah. A lot of fey creatures. I actually was very, very glad. Oh man, I don't think I have... I think I can send a pic. And Sam might be able to put it in. Is that possible?
I don't know.
Alright, we'll see how this goes. Asking me to do things
on the fly now.
This was my outfit. We'll just see it in a minute. We're not sure yet.
Okay. We lost your video for a second, but okay.
Okay.
Oh, I recognize that mask. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen.
So, because I've thought about it a lot, and I was like, well, I just don't have any, like, clothes. Do I just go as a punk? Because no one really is caring. It's not about the era. It's about the time it's about the friends you make along the way, right? So I was just like, kind of like, I'll just go in my normal attire, just dress like me, and I'll feel comfortable. But Kat was getting really into it, and I was like, all right, well, now I want to play dress up. So I just went through my clothes, and I was like, I just don't have anything. Kat had a couple of things that maybe I could wear. But the moment I remembered, I have all these masks. I'm a goblin. We're going to a Ren fair. This makes sense. I'm going to go as a goblin and bring one of my masks, wear one of my masks, and, maybe try and get some contacts, people who are interested in mask making or kind of like find some community there, maybe find some clients, shit. So yeah, that was the inspiration. The moment of inspiration was remembering I had this mask and I could just wear that and be a goblin, be me.
Image on screen.
Image on screen. Thank you, Sam. So you can see I borrowed one of Kat's outfits that was just, I mean, I don't know if it is in period. I'm not a costume history person.
Sure. It's Ren Fair. There is no period.
Exactly. I felt it was close enough to stylistically what we were going for, and it worked so well with my mask. I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm not doing this. Kat brought up to me at the end, so are you going to be actually able to wear a mask under that mask? And I was like, oh, fuck. I, like, scrambled, tried to try on all my other masks to make sure that I could figure out a way to put the mask on. And eventually I realized that, oh, well, I gotta just try this one. I put it on over the mask, and it was like, actually, that adds a new element to it that I don't usually have with this mask. I love it. However, the West Covina Ren Fair is one of the big Ren Fairs on the West Coast. Evidently, it gets even crazier on the East Coast, but I don't know nothing about that. All I know is this is one of the big ones, and when we got there, got through the into the entrance, we knew we needed to find an ATM, but they were all the way on the other side of the fair. So here I am in the mask with my mask on. My vision is literally just this, like
A tunnel. You have a tunnel.
And I am basically blinded. Like, I can't see anything. I don't have sunglasses on because they wouldn't fit on under my mask, so there's also that going on. It's a nice, bright, sunny day in Southern California. And here I am just, like, I have to keep someone on the right of me, just, like, to my right at all times so that I can use them as a marker for where the group is. I'm just kind of like hanging in the back, just like basically holding on to somebody's shoulder as they guide me through the
You should
fair.
have just had somebody grab one of those like tendrils from your mask and hold on to it.
That would have worked, except for I'm pretty sure that would have just taken off the mask. The elastic is so worn out that the mask doesn't really stay on that great anymore, and I like kept having to sit there and retie it and stuff like that. Pain in the ass.
I've lost trust in elastic things.
Yeah, I definitely would make some different choices. I'm gonna probably make, like, I'm probably going to make a mask for the next Ren Fair I go to, because I think we're gonna do the same thing next year. And there's still, like, the whole season left for Ren Fairs if I wanted to try and hit another one before the summer's over.
Do you want a corset?
Huh?
Do you want a corset?
I've thought about a corset.
If you send me your measurements, I will make you a corset.
Oh my god. We'll talk. We'll definitely talk about that. I'm interested. I know, like, and I just remember, I think it was Kat or something. They were all talking about like how having a corset is so much more comfortable than wearing a bra because you're putting all the pressure on your shoulders. But with a corset, it's just like under support.
Yeah. It's, what women used for hundreds and hundreds of years until, like, 1940. And then some dude thought he knew better. And now we've been stuck with bras forever. And people have been all, like, down on the corset. I'm like, no! I love my corset. It is the most comfortable undergarment I have.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I think it's definitely, it's a vibe, you know? It's a whole top, basically. And yeah, so the Ren Fair was marvelous, and we did a lot of fun stuff. We saw some great acts, and it just like there's something that we could do. I am almost positive.
We could probably just play live D&D and have people come through and come watch.
That's a fabulous idea. That's a great idea. Or like run a series of one shots. Like you have like time set for you have the game that starts at 11, you have the game that starts at 2, you have the game that starts at 4.
Or like
just run.
you do a stage show where like things can go differently depending on what the audience rolls. You go up to like a random audience member, give them a d20 and have them roll for you.
Yeah, that would be great.
There's a lot of good ideas.
Something like that. Yeah, I know Kat and Mina, they've been working on like low-key working on a clothing line.
Nice.
Yeah, Mina's a really excellent seamstress, and Kat is a really excellent designer. And between the two of them, they are going to have some really great stuff. So they've been talking about maybe next year trying to have like at least like something ready to put up online, so they might be able to hand out business cards or whatever. But at least by at least 2 years from now, we'll be going around like hopefully have a booth for sure.
So the trick on that one is to really like make anything from Ren Fairs. You have to kind of do a few Ren Fairs to do the circuit.
Oh yeah, we were talking to a couple of the vendors, and they were like, yeah, so you basically just like live at the Red Fair for a couple of months. You camp out and you just hang out with the crew, and that sounds like a lot of fun, frankly. Yeah, and who knows? I'm not the best with like making plans and stuff like that, but so who knows where I'll be in 2 years, but. That's definitely been a lot of what I've been thinking about. Just like how I could become, because the performances are one of the best parts of that, and I want it. You know what I mean? And I think D&D is a great way, or like one shots, audience participation stuff. All that stuff sounds great. And that was great. Ren Fair was awesome. We all had a blast. Everyone but me got a little bit tipsy, and yeah, it was a great time. I ate a bunch of really wonderful mints that were edibles. They tasted really good. I just wanted to eat them like candy, but
oh no, that's danger.
Don't do that.
That's danger.
I don't ever recommend doing that. But then we went to an arboretum the next day on Sunday, and that might have been my favorite part of the trip. It was in Fullerton. And it was right outside a baseball stadium that was like currently playing a game. So we were just kind of like, while we were walking through this arboretum, just like hearing baseball sounds. And honestly, even that didn't like make the trip a like it's not even a negative. It wasn't even in the back. Like it didn't even occur to me really. But for a couple of moments, and it was all just in the back of my mind because visually I was so just taken in by everything I was seeing. The arboretum there is huge. We were there for hours and we didn't see everything. It's like, and there's just turtles everywhere, baby turtles and big turtles and little turtles and teenage turtles and not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but definitely a lot of turtles. And I love a turtle and I want to be a turtle is the thing. Because all I want to do is swim and lay on rocks in the sun.
I'm clipping this so I can like cut in that kid that likes turtles later.
Fair enough. But yeah. It's such a life that I would love. Just launch on some vegetation, have your big old chompers. I love turtles. They're great, and it was wonderful. They were everywhere. There was all this like they had these man-made I read this little placard that was like this self-circulating, man-made like river and lake kind of system that goes throughout the whole arboretum, and the turtles just get to like hang out and swim there and live there. This is the best thing, and that was just like so everywhere you went there was turtles everywhere you went, and beautiful plants, stuff that like was just giving me like Jurassic Park vibes in some instances. There was this
terrible for if someone is afraid of turtles, though.
If you're afraid of turtles, just don't go. But how could you be afraid of turtles? Are you a monster?
I don't know. I had an employer that was just afraid of like any bird.
That's weird.
A little bit.
It's funny that I say, "Are you a monster?" with the turtles, because if you've seen Over the Garden Wall, the monsters are all afraid of turtles. So.
I have not seen that. I need to.
Damn.
It's on my list. I've got a lot of editing to do.
No, that's fair. I'm sorry. I'm not going to roast you for that. But yeah, it's really good. It's like one of those shows that we rented it from Videodroid. Like it must have been on the new release wall, and we were just like, "What is this? It's a Cartoon Network miniseries. All of it's on one DVD. Let's go home and watch this." And I hesitate to call it one of my favorite musicals, because I wouldn't call it a musical because I don't like musicals. But, it is no, honestly, if you consider it a musical, it's definitely one of my favorites because the music is incredible, and it runs the gamut of like all kinds of different Americana musics from like the turn of the 19th century or the 20th century. And just all this like it goes into like more modern stuff, but it has this real heart to it. The whole show has this real heart to it. Really beautiful things to say about like, you know, I mean, predominantly life and death, and just like, you know, this, but through this lens that even like, that no matter what your age, you could be, you would appreciate it. It's great for like Halloween, and I feel like if you were a kid watching that on Halloween, it's just the right amount of scary, but also like some really interesting lessons that are like hitting you over the head, right? Anyway, love Over the Garden Wall, and Patrick McHale, who was the writer, also worked on like Adventure Time. So if you like Adventure Time, you're probably gonna like Over the Garden Wall. But he also worked on he was one of the writers on Guillermo del Toro's most recent Pinocchio, or his most recent, the Pinocchio movie, the stop motion movie that they made in the last few years.
You mean
It's
good
just
Pinocchio?
absolutely- Huh?
You mean good Pinocchio?
Yeah, Antifa Pinocchio. That's what I call it. If you haven't seen it, I don't need to hype it. It won Oscars. It's a really fucking incredible movie.
It's Guillermo del Toro.
Toro's a genius.
He doesn't need help.
Del Toro's on one of the best runs in film history, in my opinion.
It's
Like, the guy
another
has
level.
had Homer after Homer after Homer every single fucking time. That guy underestimated at every step. I fucking love Del Toro's work. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Pinocchio, incredible. Over the Garden Wall, incredible. I'd love, like, me and Kat heard about this not too long after we had watched Over the Garden Wall. We were like, what else is this dude doing? Oh, he worked on Adventure Time. He's doing Pinocchio with Guillermo del Toro? Fuck! So we've been waiting like years for that movie to come out. And like, when you have that kind of anticipation, it would be really easy to be disappointed. Not even a little. Expectations exceeded, in fact. So that's its own like mark of achievement, in my opinion.
Del Toro's
Especially with
doing
someone who's as harsh a
everything
critic
right
as I tend to be.
that, Cameron did wrong.
I definitely, yeah, I'm right there fucking with you. Oh, yeah, the Arboretum, the turtles, Over the Garden Wall. Monsters are afraid of turtles and Over the Garden Wall. Turtles are like a weird theme that shows up there a lot. But, yeah, there was this one tree that was one of the biggest, like, bases of a tree I've ever seen, and I grew up around redwoods, okay? Like, it was insane, dude. Like, and this is in an arboretum, so this is planted intentionally, like, within a few generations, or a couple of generations. I don't think it's been around, like, forever, you know? I mean, it's the West Coast. How many generations have we even lived here?
Unless they built it around the tree.
Right, yeah. Anyway, one of the best points of the weekend, it was great seeing all of these old friends as well. They're really good folks, and it's always great to spend some time, get silly, eat weird food. We kept meaning to get a group photo at the Ren Fair. It was something I brought up early on, like maybe we get it before we go in kind of thing, but I think we wanted to have like some of the Ren Fair in the background for the photo. We go all day, we're all like, we bring it up a couple of times while we're like eating or doing this or doing that, and then we just keep not doing it. Like, we'll get distracted. We're all very easily distracted, and at Ren Fair, it's like, multiplied. So we leave the Ren Fair. Drew brings it up, like, hey, we should probably get that group photo, but the Ren Fair's behind us now. We'll just wait till we get back to the house we're staying at. We all get back to the house, and immediately everyone's like, I need to get out of these clothes. So we didn't get our Ren Fair group pic. So literally the last day we're all hanging out, just a couple hours before, one of the people had to leave a little bit earlier than the rest of us. They were getting on a plane, in an Uber and onto a plane. We go to Wiener Schnitzel, because evidently, I didn't realize this, but there's no Wiener Schnitzel in Sonoma County.
No,
you have to go like You have to go like out to El Cerrito or Vacaville to find a Wiener Schnitzel. And I just grew up with a Wiener Schnitzel in our downtown. It was like one of the, it was such a common thing for me to see. I just didn't even ever think about not having one in Sonoma County.
No, yeah, Sonoma County's weird that way. There are certain restaurants that they just don't have.
I know, but they still let that fucking A&W KFC go on way longer than it needed to. Yuck. It was the worst restaurant in Sonoma County. I'm pretty sure they wiped their butts with the food or something.
Fast food isn't restaurants.
Huh?
Fast food isn't restaurants.
I guess. There's all kinds of legal distinctions where fast foods basically aren't restaurants, and like social, cultural distinctions, but I don't know.
I'm not going to McDonald's for the experience, is all I'm saying.
There is, though. Like, there is an experience. There is the McDonald's experience. And it's very different from, like, the Denny's experience. Like, these chains definitely don't, like, mean anything, but, but for the meaning we put into them. And so you go to a McDonald's, you know what the vibe is. You're sitting down and, like, even though the aesthetics have changed since we were kids, it's more or less the same kind of vibe. Like, it's kind of inhospitable, but still cutesy, you know what I mean?
I think that's why I'm having this, like, thought, because it's like, I haven't sat down to eat at a McDonald's in maybe 10 years. I get my food and then GTFO.
Yeah, I haven't had a car in so long that I just, have been walking or biking everywhere that I end up eating in a lot of places like that. So, yeah, that's real. Most people aren't sitting down to eat at a McDonald's. But, yeah, I think we all know the vibe. Anyway, A&W KFCs, I don't know why they're bad, but they're not my favorite. Maybe I just don't like A&W. I can't tell you, but I like the root beer. Go to there, get the float, don't get anything else.
Well, there's a reason why they're kind of only famous for the root beer.
That's fair. But Wiener Schnitzel bangs, dude. If you get a chance, go to a Wiener Schnitzel. They bang out the dogs. And don't get the chili burgers. I don't think their chili burgers are that good.
That should be their new slogan.
Weird.
They bang out the dogs.
Dude, they bang out the dogs. Yeah, this should be. I should be advertising. I should do marketing for them. Speaking of marketing... Nope, that's a bad segue. Anyway, I have this big pad of paper, I'm sure you've noticed. And this little pencil I've been waving around for a minute. I've got a whole bunch of other art supplies off to my right here. And I wiped from this weekend. So I decided I would kind of like take a break from all of the staring and drawing with my thumbs very close to my face. That tends to be like very internal a process for me, and go back to making some shit. Go back to making some shit. God damn it. No, I'm gonna do some physical art today. Yeah, I thought that would be a nice change of pace. It's been a minute since I'd done a physical art. I didn't even really think about it until the last minute, and then I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Sam was, thankfully, able to accommodate in such a brief amount of time. Thank you, Sam. Shout out to all of your hard work, my friend.
You're welcome. It was a small thing.
Well, I'm glad it was very last minute on my part. I felt bad, so I'm glad you were able to make it work. I appreciate it.
Don't feel bad at all.
But yeah, so I'm gonna start off with one of my favorite ways to start off physical pieces, especially lately. I'm just gonna look at you. I'm gonna start making some squigglies.
You're just gonna look at me. Awkward eye contact. Go.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, human.
I hope you're having a good day.
I'm good.
I hope your week is excellent. I hope your heart is full of love. I hope your whatever you're doing for money, for work is fulfilling, or at least you're able to do some stuff that makes you proud, even if the job is awful. You know, making people smile, providing service to people. One of the best things a human being can do. It's one of my favorite things about being alive, is being of service. Alright. So I've got a big ol' mess in front of me now. And I'm just gonna sit here and look at it. Maybe flip it a little bit. Take a look at it from every angle and just kind of see what I see. I like this way. I like this way. Yeah, I like this way. So you probably can't see anything because my paper is white and it's a bright but overcast day, so we're getting a lot of like that cool light from the window and from my additional lighting here. But once these lines start to thicken up, you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. Do you remember that bad guy from the Sonic animated show that was kind of like a chicken?
Oh gosh, I haven't thought about
Like a
that
robot
in
chicken?
forever.
A robot chicken. Ah.
To go
so
with Eggman.
Yeah, no, it was one of Eggman or Robotnik, whatever you like to call him, one of his like main henchmen in the Jaleel White animated show. Because there's been like 5 fucking Sonic animated TV shows, and
No, there is only the Jaleel White version.
no, many people have been saying that only the Jaleel White version it matters, but I know a lot of people who like X, and yeah, I think Sonic is just a cool character, and you know, I was never like, I was always a Nintendo kid, so like all the Sega kind of loyalty stuff I don't really get. I didn't play a lot of the Sonic games. We had a Genesis at one point, but it was like 2 generations past like when Genesis were relevant, so we had a pretty limited amount of games. All I really played was like Streets of Rage and the Golden Axe and Clay Fighters.
So
that was
good.
the big one. A lot of Clay Fighters. Oh, and Primal Rage. Or wait, that was on my SNES. Was Primal Rage. Anyway, a lot of beat 'em ups. That was like my vibe. I really liked Golden Axe. It was mwah, when I was like 11.
As far as side-scrolling beat-em-ups, it's so good.
Yeah,
Like anyone
absolutely.
can pick up that game and play it.
God, wait. So you were a Sega kid, aren't you?
We had both because my brother was that guy. So he got a Nintendo early on, and then like a couple years later, my dad got us a Sega CD. I mostly
Ooh.
played like Sherlock Holmes puzzle games and things like that, but he played everything.
Okay. I was gonna say, because that makes you and Zach as part of the Nerdcrafty crew that are just absolutely nuts for Sega games.
Oh, I'm
But
not
you just like
absolutely
the
nuts
games.
for Sega games. I like certain games. I'm the person who's like, oh, I don't like bands, but I like particular albums or specific songs.
Totally. I could appreciate that.
I'm a
Yeah.
curator.
But yeah, Golden Axe rips. So we had talking about Sonic. Yeah, no, I am definitely one of those people that watched the Sonic movie, the most recent one, and just absolutely fucking loved it.
It
You know,
was
Jim
so much
Carrey is a
fun.
legend. I don't love all of his takes that he has on the internet, but he's a pretty cool dude, and I really like his work as Dr. Robotnik. But you know, more or less, like those games or those movies, there's like you put them up against a lot of like modern big blockbuster stuff. Like I don't know, it's fine. Like I don't know why people were so uptight about it. I thought they were fine.
They're
They're
charming.
fun. They got charm up the wazoo.
Have you seen the second one?
Yeah,
With
I mean,
Idris
it's
Elba.
like I would say it's better.
It is.
Like the second Sonic is better. I mean, Jim Carrey gets to go bigger. Idris Elba, just period. The
Brilliant.
character of Sonic is like more like you get to see more of what their you get to see more of their crew and like them interacting with like the people that they'll come to probably. I mean, if they keep doing these movies, they're gonna, just keep expanding to the more obscure characters and stuff like that. And I can't wait to see Big the Cat because he's a big, goofy guy, and I don't know that the fandom doesn't love him, but I think the design is lovely and cute, and I like him.
There is a small sector that really loves Big the Cat.
The design is good. I'm just saying the design is stellar. I love. There's that Pokemon that's basically just like the fire type version of Big the Cat.
That must be one of the newer generations. I cannot.
Oh, he's in the current Smash Brothers. I can't remember the name of that. It's like Fire Cat. I don't know.
As a child, I was like, you want me to memorize more Pokemon? I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I definitely lose track of them after Gold and
You've ruined
Silver,
the Poke Rap.
Yeah, the Poke Rap will never be completed now. It's eternal. But yeah, I mean, I was never big into like Sega games, but I think Sonic's a cool character. There's a lot you can do with that. There's a bunch of like funny cultural kind of like aspects of like. Would chili dogs be as big a thing without Sonic the Hedgehog? I think not. Sonic the Hedgehog made chili dogs.
Not outside of, like, ballparks.
Yeah, even, like, you're just getting regular hot dogs at the ballpark. I don't know anybody getting the chili dog.
Oh,
Not until Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah. I like that character. I just want to see them, do well. I guess it's interesting when I compare my feelings about Sonic the Hedgehog with like Mario, because I do care about Mario and it does piss me off. And I haven't seen the movie yet.
Neither have I.
But yeah, I guess that's that's nostalgia, that's my bias. Obviously we all have them.
It's also us being performers going, hey, there was a perfectly good voice actor right over here who's done this character for decades. And
yeah, with Sonic, I mean, they should have got Julia White
it
for
would have been amazing.
Sonic movie.
I mean, it's a
Julia
cartoon.
White.
Jaleel could just like, dub over it and do his version.
Yeah. God, he was in a couple of things recently, wasn't he?
Was he?
I feel like I remember seeing him get some work. I can't remember now. But
Good for him.
He's like always going to be relevant because he was Steve Urkel.
Yeah. And Stefan.
Like,
that was a very confusing time for me.
oh, I remember now. He's got like a podcast. He went off recently. I'm starting to remember now.
I will say that the second Sonic movie did something that a lot of sequels are kind of missing nowadays, and they gave their protagonist character more character development in the second movie. They didn't just let him stay the same guy.
That's positive. Yeah. Plus, we get to see James Marsden. What a cutie.
I know. I felt so bad for him when Westworld got canceled.
Oh, I forgot he was in Westworld.
Yeah, he was Teddy. Being all adorable.
I don't know if the audience knows this, but I did, what's that thing? Background work in Westworld Season 3. But yeah, I've never actually watched it. But yeah, no, I did like the movie. I've seen the Westworld movie.
Oh, with Yul Brynner?
With Yul Brynner.
It, if you don't mind the pacing, it stands up.
It does. It's a fun little movie.
And I think it's still a good question to ask, especially with the rise of AI and robotics and everything.
Yeah. I think it'll always depend on who's in control, right? Under the current organization of the economy, artists are going to get the shaft. We see them trying to replace artists all over the industry with AI. And yeah, we have to. That's part of what one of the grievances for the writer's strike that's currently ongoing. That's a lot of what artists have been talking about. There's battles being fought in court over Stable Diffusion and how it's training on people's work without consent. It's definitely one of the questions of our time, and yeah, I guess ultimately I'm just always going to point out that these issues aren't, this isn't an accident. This is a very intentional kind of like way for capitalists to do what they do best, which is make the world a worse place for everyone, so that they can have some small to medium gain in their disgusting amounts of personal individual wealth. And yeah, the only right thing to do is to stop that and to regulate the shit out of AI so that they cannot continue to replace the labor of very specialized people who deserve to continue doing that labor.
Well, I think another thing is, and this is the thing that I keep holding in my heart, knowing that, like, I will never be fully replaced by an AI because as a human, I have real feelings. And even if you simulate those in a machine, it's never going to feel sincere.
Sure, I know that they'll never replace us, like, in a way that's, like, equal, in a way that's, like, that the loss of human creativity and feeling and our own, the sum total of our lived experiences and knowledge that comes through in our work, that can't be replaced. But what can be replaced is our labor, the way that we are able to earn money. And frankly, as much as I love art for all of the reasons that aren't, that have nothing to do with finances, being able to pay our rent, doing what we've trained our entire lives to do, is something that should be a concern to most people who have labor concerns generally. Artists are laborers. Even if there are a very minuscule amount of people at the top of those professions making intense, incredible, insane amounts of money, there are still thousands or millions of people struggling to work their way towards monthly rent, towards their own medical bills and art supply expenses, all of the issues of any laborer, any blue-collar worker, with a much different public perception of what we do and how we live our lives. It's something that if you are concerned about the labor concerns of people in any industry, artists are something that you should definitely watch more. We do have fairly solid unions, but there are nothing. There's nothing like that for people who don't meet the requirements necessary to become a union worker. As much as I would love to be part of the Screen Actors Guild or, any kind of artists union so that my labor is protected and I have someone fighting for my right to provide that labor. There's just no avenue for that for me at the moment. And I am not alone. So many artists are at this stage of their career, especially younger artists, especially younger artists who have just come out of art institutions with massive amounts of debt. Art schools are notoriously expensive, difficult to get into, and if you actually get there, you come out of it in a pretty rough spot. And when you're at that stage in your career, you might have more contacts from having gone to college. You might have more ability, more potential to actually get to get jobs. But you also have this massive amount of student debt, unless you are very, very fortunate and privileged not to have had someone be able to pay your way through it, or whatever your situation might have been. If you don't come out of it with student loans, that's its own, incredible privilege and blessing to your life, because most people, that's not the case. So yeah, I mean, so our artists, our work, our ability, our passion will never go away. Not in any, not in an individual sense, but our ability to make a wage, a living wage off of our labor, is only having barriers put up around it by AI. People are already being replaced by from their jobs as artists, as writers, as voice actors, as musicians. Name an art, and it is being replaced. You are being replaced as an artist, and that should never happen. We don't need robots to perform art as labor for us. People are perfectly capable of doing that. What we need automation for is difficult, dangerous jobs that people are hesitant to work in the first place, and only do so under very, very threatening economic situations and circumstances. So things like jobs like that is where we should be implementing AI, at least at some level. And even then, we shouldn't be taking labor away from people who need that labor to survive. The only reason that so many stories about automation and about robots go so wrong isn't necessarily that the functional takeover of society. It's representative of how our labor is going to be replaced, our ability to live, and that will effectively get rid of us in a similar way as a lot of these robots take over the world kind of movies that we've seen so often in our lifetimes. That's the underscore, that's the underlying message there, is that it's not necessarily robots are evil and they're going to eventually realize they can murder us all and take over the world. It's more that if we allow it to, robots will kill off not only all of we'll kill off the working class, we'll kill off labor, and we will have no one to blame for it but capitalists and the government officials that didn't pass the proper regulation behind it to save the populace. I mean, this is, a very serious issue, and the conversations we're having around it are vital at this point, because it's still more or less up in the air. The capitalists would like it to be a settled circumstance, but artists are fighting all over the world for our rights to our labor. So join the fight, eat the rich. But yeah, that's my main concern. Because of course, no one can replace me no AI, especially at this point, can replace you in us artists in a one-to-one functional kind of replacement. It's simply a facsimile of what other artists have been doing, and that's one of the big arguments against Stable Diffusion, because it is being trained on other artists' work without consent or approval or even or payment, which should never be the case.
I just think it's so new. It's such a novelty right now, and I think people are going to get worn out on it. They're not going to feel anything from these AI-produced artworks, and they'll get tired of it, and it'll have to go back to the way things were. Because, intrinsically, when it is something for entertainment, when it is something to make you feel something, when it is there for you to contemplate and internalize, and it's not giving you anything, it's not marketable.
I agree with you, of course. But yeah, I mean, if without, like, a certain amount of awareness around the subject, people are pretty adaptable. The general public outside of the art world, they're gonna adapt to whatever the media companies give them. I mean, people watch most of what they watch in a very, very increasingly passive way. Engaging in conversation about a show or a movie that is recent and you're at work or something, you talk to any of the people that, you know, aren't like artists and interested in like breaking down and analyzing things or appreciating them on that level, you know, you're gonna hear a lot of, oh yeah, it's really cool, I like, you know, how the head came off or something, you know. You're gonna get fairly superficial, and I'm not saying people are stupid, it's just some people just want to be entertained and enjoy whatever is being put in front of them, and are fairly trusting of these big media companies, even if they're not necessarily like giving them their full trust. They're at least, they trust them to put out things that will be entertaining.
I mean, I get what you're talking about, because a lot of that, like, water cooler talk that you're having with, like, the people that you work with, and, like, people that are employed in the same areas that you are, like, yeah, you're not trying to really make friends in that situation, because at work we're told that's not where you make friends, but it is your whole life for some reason. So, like, you engage in these idle chit-chats. You don't really want to get in depth, because, like, that takes time and emotional effort, and you're already putting all of your effort into, like, this horrible, awful office job that you've been working at. So, like, I feel like a lot of people are willing to get into the deep conversations. They just have to be in the right setting around the right people where they're comfortable to have those conversations. And I don't know if everybody has that, but, like, I've seen it time and time again with a lot of different social circles where, like, conversations will get really, really deep when talking about media and shows and things like that. It's just, it's about the company that you're with and the people that you're having the conversation with.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not saying that people, I mean, maybe I am saying that people aren't engaging with media in a very critical way, but I don't think that's, I'm saying that I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I used to work in car service, and, you know, there wasn't a lot of, like, deep conversations about, you know, people's feelings on art. That wasn't what they were about. That wasn't what they were there for. And it's not the kind of people that they are. You know, even my dad, who occasionally, you know, we would be able to sit down and watch, like, an old movie specifically, like, usually an older movie, and we would engage with it in a real way. Most of what my dad, like, watched was just, like, there for him to sit there in front of while he had a cocktail after work before we made dinner, and then while we ate dinner, and for a couple hours before he went to bed. You know, my dad was kind of into TV, but he wouldn't have, like, had a lot of, like, things to say about Pawn Stars, you know? He just wanted to watch it so that he could, you know, kill the hours between work and sleep. Like I said, you know, the guy was a pretty interesting person, and sometimes we would be able to, like, sit there and watch something cool, and I would be able to engage with them about it, but, like, I think that's most people's, like, regular speed, is just, like, consumption for something to do. Consuming the media because, you know, that's more or less, like, what you have time and energy for.
They want entertainment and not art, and there is a distinction, and most people cannot tell the distinction. and they cannot switch their brains in that way where it's like, okay, this is something that I can watch and it's frivolous and I'm not going to take any of it into my life, whereas this thing that I'm going to watch now, I am prepared to think about it. I am ready to like plunge into the depths of what it means and what it's trying to tell me. There are distinctions between these two forms of media, and it's not well educated on.
No, I 100%. I've said very similar things many times throughout my life. I definitely see the agree. There's a big distinction between entertainment and art. But yeah, I mean, most people they're most often consuming, basically just for the entertainment value, and not as often for like the artistic value. Like I said, I think everybody lives. It's a difficult. It's a hard life, you know. It's not easy getting through all of this, and sometimes you need just like to veg out and watch some Pawn Stars, or one of my big don't think about it shows is like Gordon Ramsay shows. I love roasting a British man, so it's one of my favorites.
You love roasting a British man that loves roasting.
Yeah, I think Gordon Ramsay is an interesting one, because I like Kitchen Nightmares because sometimes he gets really like pissy with the management, and I love that.
Well, who wouldn't?
But I also he regularly in his shows will bestialize people of color as casual insults. I don't think he knows better, but it's real bad, and you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, well, Britain. So
yeah,
there were certain things that they didn't do that we did a little bit earlier, and
yeah,
the climate's different.
For sure. But yeah, that's one of my veg out kind of shows, right?
I choose bad ones because my veg out shows are like, I'm gonna watch Drag Race, I'm gonna watch The Great. I'm like, okay, I picked a show about drag queens going through personal trauma and things like that, and I also picked a show about a Russian leader who cooed her way to success.
We love a boss bitch.
We love a boss bitch.
Sure, yeah. Everybody's got their entertainment shows that aren't you're not going there for the artistry. Although,
I'm going there for the laughs.
Yeah, in many cases. Exactly, yeah. So yeah, I think there's so where AI is concerned, I think that's one of my big I know that as artists it gets much harder to replace us than as entertainment, because that's, and for writers it's even less about entertainment. There's already writers being replaced for all kinds of different labor that they typically end up being able to make a decent amount of money in, something to make a living, something to pay bills, from paralegals and I think one of the internet publications is replacing staff with AI now. There's all kinds of writing gigs that are ultimately going the way of the dodo because of AI, and that's currently. So it's a big issue. I'm glad we're able to talk about it, because I know that art is difficult to replace, but entertainment is the more common, more consumed function of the media, and still many people providing very specific kinds of labor to those industries that should still be respected and still should be able to make a living. So that's always I might not like a lot of people in the entertainment world, but it is a kind of specialized labor. It is very difficult to right here. This is I mean, obviously this is art, but I'm also providing entertainment, and it's difficult to multitask like that, provide commentary while I'm drawing. But, you know, kind of zoom back and look at it like, I don't know, dating show hosts or reality TV stars or voice actors that do commercials. You know, there's so many different types of people working just like more, I guess less glamorous, you know, versions of being an entertainer. Like, I mean, but it's all, I guess what I'm saying is everything is an art, you know? When you kind of like really zoom back and look at it, everything, especially all specialized labor, is a kind of art, you know? There has to be a certain amount of creative energy into something as simple as kind of like, I guess, blue collar as like construction work, you know? You have to know a certain set of very intense skills that require a lot of like on the job, like actual like training, getting things wrong, messing up until you get it right. When you explain the process of just about any kind of labor, ultimately it comes down to how artfully can it be done, you know? How artfully do people perform that labor? How skilled do they have to be? And it's the same thing we talk about with artists. The only real difference is that, you know, most people performing, you know, as like line cooks and stuff like that, aren't getting recognized for the artistry they provide.
Well, I think there's also a question in that of how much care are they putting into what they're putting out.
Sure, I mean, yeah, a lot of people. I mean, even people who really care about their jobs, on their you have rough days sometimes, and sometimes that product, the production of that or the performance of that labor is, you know, not as is subpar to your average, you know.
Well, there's also people taking those jobs that don't belong in those jobs.
Absolutely, you know, I mean, especially with all the conversations we've been having about like nepotism and things like that, you know, that's definitely another big concern, you know. Yeah, so that's its own like that's definitely its own concern, you know, like people who have these jobs that are notoriously difficult to have and to keep, when they don't really have the same amount of care or enthusiasm or haven't dedicated themselves in a similar way to people who don't have the kind of privilege or contacts they have. So with like you're saying, yeah, with like people who end up in jobs that they don't necessarily really want, they were just easy to get kind of thing. You know, how much care do they really have putting into whatever field that they are working in at that time? You know, and that can be translated into like film and I mean, all the nepotism. That's a lot of where we've been having those conversations is in the world of entertainment and media, art, but that exists in every industry. Ultimately, trying to word this carefully.
You're not going to incite anything, are you?
Trying not to. But, yeah. Ultimately, all I'm saying is that even the people who don't necessarily deserve to be in those jobs, that's like ultimately its own like separate kind of like issue. I mean, they're definitely replacing laborers in a way that shouldn't happen as well, but in a very different way than generative AI, and that ultimately comes down to the fact that even though those people don't deserve to work there, they're still people. They still deserve to live, and
Absolutely, they still should not be replaced by a robot. Because
exactly.
a robot
Whereas,
doesn't care what it works on. It's just programmed to do the thing that it's programmed to do.
Yeah, and honestly, if they were robots, I would be more concerned. If they were actual artificial intelligences, I would be concerned about their labor rights and about whether or not they're actually getting paid for their labor. But they're simply not. They're algorithms, and they're run by very rich tech companies that are ultimately taking advantage of a large portion of our populace to make as much of a profit as they can, to put profit margins over the actual labor concerns of artists. And that's the real issue. I mean, how could I have a problem with an algorithm? That would be absurd. That would be absolutely fucking silly. What I have a problem with is these tech companies taking food out of the mouths of artists that are in my community, people that I care about, myself, you know. That's a big issue. You know, we shouldn't be giving a pass to these tech companies to replace laborers with generative AI, which don't have any even semblance of a sentience.
No sentience, no sapience.
Yeah, it's a misleading marketing term to call them AI, and that is one of the things that's very frustrating for me about it, because calling them AI gives them a certain amount of credibility. It's that futuristic hope that, you know, we have these in our lifetime. Everyone wants to see the most progress happen in their lifetime, and it's this subtle, fucked up kind of game we all play with ourselves, but it's true. We all want to live in as much of an advanced society as we can. We all want to live in the best conditions that had existed up until now. But these things are not AI. This is not data. This is not C-3PO. You know, this is fucking... these are literal just programs with no amount of actual intelligence or interesting ability to offer something interesting to art or our conversations around society and who we are, which is what it is for, but are only there to make windfall profits by for these tech companies for stealing art from people off the internet. It's reprehensible. It should be criminal.
Again, I think it's a useful tool to have, because like I myself have used it a little bit to like create reference for when I'm actually making a piece of art, because I'm horrible at laying things out and doing perspective and things like that. So I use it as a reference. It's not the actual art that I'm presenting, because that would be problematic, if not plagiaristic.
Yeah, artists using them in the process of making their work is a very different thing than what we're talking about here.
I think it'd be a useful tool. We're just misusing the tool right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in the wrong hand, you know, as well.
Like guns.
Don't get me started on firearms, Sam. You know you don't want that on your program.
I think we've said enough on that, right?
I mean,
everything we've said about AI, just apply it to guns.
I'm at that point in the leftist spectrum where you get your guns back. So.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm not so silly as to think that they have.
See, guns are stupid. Get a sword. You don't have to reload a sword.
Yeah, I mean, there is the old adage, you know, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. But yeah, I definitely would like to see more fencing duels than, you know, gun deaths. But that also is like, yeah. That's its own thing. That's its own thing. Yeah, I grew up around firearms. I think responsible ownership is one of the like most important aspects of it. My dad was in the service, and that was always the first point that he would make about firearms. Like, I was interested in firearms like when I could talk. Like, I remember that was one of the things my mom has told me when I was preschool age, so like around 5, and I had started asking them like if I could have a gun or something like that, or when I was gonna get a gun, because my dad had a big gun cabinet. He was in the service, but he kept it locked all the time, but it was very decorative. So I think that was part of my interest. But they told me you can have one when you get a beard. Because I think that's a great line, because not only does it mean like you have to actually be an adult to use it, but you have to wait a long time and make that decision with absolute certainty that you aren't going to misuse it. You have to think about it. Wait till you have a beard, and then you can have a firearm. I mean, not only is the age more appropriate, but the idea of planning, the idea of having to make that decision very consciously and with all knowledge that you could possibly have on the subject.
That works well for AMAB.
AMAB?
Assigned male at birth.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right. No. So, but, obviously, it was something I was interested in, and then I think the Halloween, my first Halloween that I dressed up in a costume, my mom made me a devil costume. I had a little goatee, and I was like, well, can I have my gun now?
I was wondering if you'd try to find a loophole.
No, they were not having it.
Slapping Rogaine on your face.
That would have been great. Have you seen the peanut butter solution?
No, I haven't.
So, this is a big tangent, but a lot of people don't know that before Titanic, Celine Dion sang the theme and did more music for another movie called The Peanut Butter Solution. The Peanut Butter Solution is one of the most absurd things I have ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure it was made with funding from the Canadian Film Board, and was basically like the way that I learned about pubic hair, among other things. Because this movie was like this little kid, he gets so scared that he loses all of his hair, and he is being tormented at school because he has no hair, and he's a bald child. So he finds this magic book or something where he learns about a solution or a way to grow your hair back, and one of the main ingredients is peanut butter, the peanut butter solution. So he rubs the shit on his head, and whatever magic book or person tells him about it is don't overuse it, just use a little bit. And he's like, I don't want it, I want it to work. So he uses a fucking lot of it, and he turns into a hairy man, where he's very hairy everywhere. And his friend exclusively put it on his junk. So he had hair growing out of his pant leg for a lot of the movie. It was weird. They were children. Anyway,
this sounds like some draggy shit.
This movie ends with a bunch of kids getting kidnapped, and previously bald, scared child who is now bearded, finding the warehouse where these kids were kidnapped to find out that there's a magical Bob Ross-like character who has this giant paintbrush, and can paint new realities and shit. And he has to beat that guy. It's a really weird movie, and Celine Dion provides the music.
This sounds like a trip.
Yeah, it was weird. It was very weird. I don't remember how I ended up watching it. Actually, I do remember that. My mom was like, I think brought it up at one point. I was really young. She was like, I think my sisters had watched it with her, and I was like, what is that? And they showed it to me, and I was like, that was so stupid. What just happened? I like that Bob Ross was basically the villain. It's another thing I like. Like it wasn't Bob Ross, but it was like evil Bob Ross.
That sounds so bizarre. I'm gonna have to look this movie up. I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Baby Celine. Amazing. Anyway, peanut butter solution. We got there because we were talking about rubbing Rogaine on my face to try and make loopholes for getting guns early. But no, I didn't. Actually, what happened was I got into archery. There was like this weird archery range in Santa Rosa when I was growing up, and I got to go there a handful of times with Boy Scout troop and kids' birthdays. I got really into it. I loved archery.
Oh, I'm sad that I'm just learning about this place now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it existed when we would have... I definitely didn't exist when I moved back to Santa Rosa.
Oh.
So by the time we were like in our late teens, it was gone.
Damn.
But it was really cool. They had like animal targets that you could shoot and stuff. But then we also, because we lived in a podunk little town that basically didn't have laws, the high school I went to had an archery class. Like in our PE class, just general PE. You didn't have to like sign up for archery specifically. It was just like some people went and did racquetball, and the class that wanted, the part of the class that wanted to, got to do archery.
The school is like, some of you are just gonna have to know how to cook your own food and hunt your own food.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting because we got to use real bows and arrows on the school grounds with everyone, all of the students around us, with teachers who, you know, were bow hunters, so they knew what they were doing. But it's just so weird because this is like post-Columbine. Like, it's so strange to think about the fact that I was just standing there with a lethal weapon 6 feet from people who bullied me, and that was okay. Not that I would have done anything. It's an insane thing to think about, like, hormonal teenage kids. You never know what they're gonna do, standing there with lethal weapons that you're just in a school class environment.
My mom didn't even want me to go to middle school because she was afraid they were gonna have, like, knives there.
Yeah, I mean, this is America. But ultimately, everything was fine. No one ended up getting hurt or anything. They were, the people who did the instruction for that class were like, in a very similar way to my dad, just very, very, very upfront about safety. And if you were even slightly out of line in the safety thing, you were just out. No questions, no arguments, just you're gone. Safety is the priority. It is the thing that matters.
Yeah, someone must have gotten in trouble for that like a long ass time ago, because any class that includes like any type of danger to the student, they're like, everyone, we have to be super serious about this.
Yeah, they didn't let us play dodgeball. They were letting us hold bows and arrows, but we can't play dodgeball. That's too dangerous. Amazing. Just amazing. Anyway, yeah, that was my high school, Redding, California. So I got really into archery, and then I think when I was like, at some point in high school, I got a BB gun. That's what I was trying to say. BB gun. And that's kind of like, I got more into kind of like we just kept it out at my dad's place in Anderson because he lived like in a really, really rural area. And so I was able to kind of like set up targets like way far out. And yeah, I got to be a pretty solid shot. And then eventually I moved my way up to like a 22 under my dad's supervision. He taught me how to, before he even did that though, he taught me how to clean the weapon, he taught me how to take it apart, he taught me how to, like, do all the service on the weapon. He taught me all about the, like, why, like, he told me stories you never want to hear because he was in the service and saw things that most people will never have to see, and
This is
he is
proper
very
gun
fortunate.
education.
Huh? Yeah,
This is
exactly.
proper gun education. This is what it should be for anyone who owns a gun.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be, here's my driver's license. 3 days later, give me my gun.
Yeah, I think it's weird when people are like, yeah, let's go have fun and shoot guns. It's like, no, we're not having fun when we're doing that. We don't fire guns under the pretense of fun.
We are not Yosemite Sam.
I don't get that. It's not for me. Guns are a very serious thing, and you only use them
It's
under
a
very
danger
specific
tool.
circumstances. Yeah, very specific circumstances, very specific conditions is when you use firearms or any kind of firearm, even like airsoft or BB guns, or I would even go as far to say as paintball guns. God, have I told a
Those
story
things
about how
hurt
kids...
real bad.
Yeah. I don't think I might have told this story on stream once. Stop me if I have, but basically when I was in 4th grade, I had made friends with some kids. We had just moved to town, in Reading. I had made some friends with some kids in our neighborhood, which was semi-rural. Those kids, it was like, you know, I felt kind of lucky because these kids were kind of more popular kids at the school, and so, like, I started hanging out with them a bunch. They showed me a bunch of cool places around the neighborhood, took me to the, like, little creek that ran around the neighborhood. You know, we got into all kinds of shit. We ran into, mountain lion at one point. Like, didn't run into it, literally, but, yeah, it was like one of those kind of places. And that was all good fun. But one point, not too long before we moved out of that neighborhood, me and these two kids were walking around, and they were like, hey, why don't we go over to this kid's house, and we'll, yeah. I was like, sure, let's do it. We go over there. They're like, why don't we go into the garage? And I was like, sure, what's in there? We don't usually go in there. We play video games and shit. And they were like, yeah, it'll be fine. So we go into the garage, and I'm like looking in there. There's nothing in there. I'm like, what are we doing? And they were like, they got real quiet, and I like turn around, and they're both holding guns, like rifles at me. And I'm just like, hey, this isn't funny. You don't do. I knew that's not how you ever do that unless you intend to kill that person. And so I was shitting myself, like, I'm gonna fucking die right here. These fucking white people are gonna fucking kill me. They found out. They found out about me. Oh no.
I'm not passing. Oh no.
So I was like terrified, trying to just be like, hey, let's not, don't do this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they started firing at my feet. They were BB guns, pellet guns, I think technically, but
That's still not funny.
worse than a BB gun. They hurt worse, I can tell you that much. They like shot off a bunch of rounds at me, and then I had to like get past them to get out the door. They kept shooting at me as I ran away. I ran home like screaming and crying, forgot my bike over there. We had to like send one of my sisters over there to get my bike back. I was never was cool with those guys again. It was one of the more terrifying moments of my childhood, which is considerable. I thought I was gonna die. But yeah, so especially with that experience, I'm even probably more like, that the more real life experience you have around firearms, I feel like the more careful and more practiced it should make you, which is why it's so confusing to see so many people who are so like aware of and definitely taught about a lot of the same things that I learned as a kid, and are so much more like casual, so much more like cavalier with their use of weapons.
It's like there's a lack of respect for what it is.
Yeah, and I definitely am not like anti-regulation. I definitely think there should be better regulation put in place, but at the same time, most regulation that's ever been written in this country for firearms is specifically to keep them out of the hands of people of color. That was one of the big first steps towards gun regulation was after the emergence of the Black Panthers in Oakland, and them providing an armed guard because a bunch of people in their neighborhoods were getting beaten up or killed or harassed by cops on a regular, everyday, multiple times a day kind of basis. So Ronald Reagan, famous Republican, was one of the first people to start putting, who was then the governor of California, started putting in gun regulations, mostly to keep them out of, written very cleverly so that they couldn't say black people or the Black Panthers or radical leftist groups. But all the same, however they worded it, that was ultimately the effect. And it's been a tradition in this country that the people who oftentimes need firearms for self-defense are the first people targeted to have those weapons taken away from them by regulation. So it's a very complicated thing in this country, gun regulation generally, especially how it's been written in the past. But I definitely think there ought to be regulation. It shouldn't be written by a bunch of white supremacists. So
I just don't understand
that's going to be difficult.
why.
That means we have to replace the whole government.
I just don't understand why, in order to drive a car, you have to go through like a 20-hour class plus like 40 to 50 hours of in-car practice before you can get a license, and you have to take a test on the rules of the road, but we can't have something similar in place to another deadly item.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That's one of the best arguments for gun control, is looking at how so many other things are regulated. You can't... Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that are so heavily regulated in this country, as they should be in most cases. Like, you wouldn't want someone without a license to be driving around, typically. I mean, often a lot of people do it, but most of the reasons for people driving around without a license are also economic and social as well, so that's like its own argument we could have. But yeah, I think, to your point, yeah, I think that, it's scary to think about people who never went through all the steps you had to go through, passing the written, studying for that, learning the rules of the road and how things are supposed to go to pass your driver's license. If people
this is
don't
something
go through
they
that
expect
process,
15 and a half year olds to do.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's something that children have to do. 15 and a half, you're still just a kid, man. Maybe I'm just old, but that's how I feel. I mean, you definitely feel a lot older at 15 than you probably need to, but that's also another issue we have in America. Kids have to grow up pretty fucking quick. Oftentimes you're guided in the wrong direction. But that's beyond the point. I'm just saying that, you wouldn't feel safe with people without regulation around people who are around who's allowed to drive. Why would you expect the same kind of level of safety and understanding with firearms if you're not regulating that in a similar way? People should have to have some kind of, even like fishing. You don't have to register your pole, but you do have to have a fishing license before you go fishing. And there's definitely hunting licenses as well. But that's, ultimately a very minimal kind of regulation that has nothing to do with your actual firearms, but the participation in activity regarding firearms most of the time. But yeah, and often you're definitely not seeing the same weapons you see with people who are hunting and people who fetishize guns and keep them around their house because they believe it's some kind of symbol of their masculinity and their power and their place in the hierarchy of society, and what they aspire to be, what they desire, which is oftentimes just a unimpeachable power of violence, a desire for this forgotten feudal nightmare that they think they would thrive in, and when in fact they would probably be the first person to shoot themselves in the foot. Oh man, have you seen those videos? You probably haven't. There's like a handful of videos that went viral in the last 6 months or so of like guys doing like gun fu.
The core drilling, the drill stuff where they're like flipping the guns around.
No. This is much dumber. This is much dumber.
Okay.
They are firing loaded weapons in a like rapid, like ever-changing, like they're in a video game kind of way.
It ain't a TikTok dance.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's exactly that kind of mentality.
Oh my god.
Worse, but much worse. They have like, usually they'll have like 3 or 5 guns, and then like about the same amount of knives, and they are standing like between 8 and 3 feet from a like mannequin or some kind of target, and they're literally just haphazardly pulling out weapons and like doing headshots and like all this really weird shit, stabbing things and cutting and like trying to look really tough. But multiple people doing this and like participating in this have literally shot themselves in the process, in the hands, in the legs, in the extremities.
That's called Darwinism.
It's so weird, dude. Like, I don't, like...
Oh my goodness. Like, no, if you are stupid enough to be doing that, maybe you deserve to be shot.
I mean, I don't want anyone to die.
I don't want anyone to die either, but I want people to learn their lesson.
Yeah, exactly. We're on the same page. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully they learned something from the experience. Yeah, it's a really, really weird trend that's, like, been going on for the last... I mean, I don't know how long it's been going on. It could have been going on for years at this point, but it's really taken off lately, and there's been a lot more, like, awareness about it because of, like, people watching these and then just absolutely roasting these dorks, because that's what they're like the Star Wars kid, but killing themselves.
Yeah, no.
That's exactly the vibe.
Stop.
Like Star Wars kid, but lame. Like,
stop making accidental snuff films.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's actually died yet, but I don't think... Yeah, I think ultimately... That's semantics. Yeah, fuck. It's weird, dude. I don't get it.
I feel bad for the algorithm that's showing you these things, because I don't get that on my TikTok. I have a foppish man telling me that I'm gay every once in a while, and I enjoy that. But
yeah, that's the desired algorithm. Yeah, I see people commenting on it, not necessarily the videos themselves, until I see people commenting on them, and I'm like, I am gonna have to watch this, because it it's just like, I don't know, cancel me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty, like, my dad was a very conservative dude. He definitely had a lot of like weird misogynist, sometimes racist kind of ways of looking at the world, but like he was never like even remotely close to as unhinged as a lot of these conservatives I see nowadays. And maybe that was just my dad, but it does feel like, you know, like
no, it feels like things have gotten a lot stupider.
How am I trying to put it? It's like people are like cosplaying the version of their fathers that were worse, you know, like imagining imagining like trying to manifest this this false reality of like these supposedly alpha males.
It reeks
and,
of desperation.
Old school values and traditional conservatism and stuff like that. And it's just like, my dad was divorced twice. My dad was like as about as conservative as you could get at that time. But still, like, he had morals, he had ethics, he like didn't like, and like I said, you know, my dad had some sometimes had some pretty racist things that like he would say, but most of the time, like, he like was fairly like conscientious of stuff like that. Like, there was, you know, it was more like his conditioning would pop up occasionally, but he had spent so much of his life living in San Francisco surrounded by people that didn't, I mean, and being a Lebanese person, that like it was hard for him not to like see a lot of the social and racial grievances that people of color have for him. But you know, at the same time that he would I remember him telling me the story about how he got in a scuffle at a car auction because my dad sold cars, that was like his thing. So he's at this car auction, and one of the other people like trying to buy cars said something about like off the cuff to one of his friends or my dad, I can't remember what, about like, you know, yada yada, these fucking racial slur for Arab people. And my dad got in his face and was like, what, like my fucking mother? And like wanted to, you know, put this guy in an early grave. So at the same time he was doing shit like that, he also just had like some very like what's the word? Like a certain like bias towards thinking that, you know, I don't even know how to put it. Yeah, I guess ultimately just a certain like bias that was just hard to look at sometimes.
Would you say it's the American bias? And I'm putting quotes around American and mostly white. Because that's something that I think a lot of immigrants kind of have to face, is because in order to be successful and do well in this country, once you move here, you kind of have to really adapt, because the people who took over this land and have been living here for 200, 300 years, they don't want to change to cater to anyone else. So the immigrants that come in have to change to cater to them.
No, I know that was a big thing for my dad's side of the family. Like, when they immigrated here, they all, like, especially the men, took on all very anglicized names. Mm-hmm. So, like, Sharif became Paul. You know, stuff like that. You know, it was, everyone kind of like anglicized their name to more fit in. And I think within, you know, those two generations, there was a lot of like trying to appeal to sensibility of whiteness so that they could escape prejudice themselves. And they were quick to, like, you know, they were quick to learn English, and most of them fairly conservative, which honestly, like, could have been a product of their time even before immigrating here. You know, because yeah, it's I think my grandma's family, they all ended up here it was pre-1920s. I can't remember when they actually ended up here, but yeah, I mean, very complicated like thing. Anyway,
I only ask because I know that my family went through that.
No, yeah, it's a fairly common like thing. It's something that I think it takes. Yeah, it puts an additional burden on people later on in the generations to try and like unravel a lot of the shit that their parents learned, and like I guess that's what I'm doing here is like trying to ultimately like not justify like my dad's perspectives, but like kind of like
figure out how it happened.
Yeah, and a lot of it is in that lane of like acclimating or what's the fucking word?
I'm sorry, my brain's been on Star Trek. All I can think of is assimilating.
Yeah, that's actually the word I'm looking for, is assimilating into the culture. It is assimilation. Which is funny that you bring it up in that context, because it is fucking... white supremacy is just it's exactly like the Borg. Yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, it is assimilation. And that's like... I think was a big part of my dad's, especially his parents, kind of like, his mom specifically, like kind of part of her family's journey, you know, to protect themselves. They assimilated and took on anglicized names and tried to fit in as best they could so that they wouldn't be picked out for racism and bigotry and prejudice themselves. Which is like its own, you know, privilege. It's funny though, because like Lebanese people look like there's kind of a, because there is so much history of colonization of that region of like the world, the Middle East, the Mediterranean, whatever you want to call it, the Levant.
France, mostly?
Yeah. There's also like, just kind of like, so there's elements of,
it's already mixed.
It's multicultural. It was multicultural for centuries, you know?
Yeah, it's already mixed. Philippines are the same way.
Right. So, the ability to pass for white was something that I think that they tried to achieve as best they could. I don't know, man. I look back at those photos, I'm like, those people were Arabs. I don't know who they think they're fooling.
But they have their white people costumes on.
Well, and even me, like a couple generations removed from like, you know, from that, it's like I definitely passed, but like especially in high school in Reading, it was definitely not passing.
Yeah.
It was like everybody was wondering, you know, where are you from and shit like that, especially
what,
you know, post 9/11,
you?
which happened my freshman year, which is, you know, not the best time to be even remotely, you know, Middle Eastern in the United States. Yeah. No, yeah. You know, I don't recommend it, but it's interesting though, because like a lot of their culture is lost in that process. Like I have ultimately just had to put faith in my dad and grandma's like version of the events, and I only say it that way because the more conservative elements of my dad's side of the family like to lie and have told me different stories about you know, our family history that are just like completely different than what my dad and my grandma told me, and I think it's part of that assimilation mindset of like you want to be as close to the proximity of whiteness for self-defense for so long that you forget the reality. You believe the lie, you know?
It becomes pathological.
Yeah, and those people, we don't have to get into that.
See, that's where I'm lucky. Filipinos are horrible at lying. At least
No,
my
yeah,
family.
No, they're not. I'm talking about one specific aunt and uncle that I had on my dad's side of the family that are basically their own neighborhood's version of that one family that stood outside. You remember that couple that came out of their house in like the suburbs with guns while there were protesters crossing their lawn?
Oh, you mean weren't they lawyers? The stupid lawyers?
Yeah, those people. That's like these two. My dad's cousin and her husband. So no, they're very stupid. Is the issue. So they're bad at lying. They just want us. They wanted me and my brother to believe their version of the events over the stuff my grandma told me, who knew it firsthand. I mean, so yeah. She's a mess, but that's neither here nor there. How did we get here?
I've honestly lost track, and I feel bad because I feel like I'm distracting you from your art.
No, it's a good distraction. I'm glad to have it, frankly. I'm basically done with this anyway. I just need to start putting color into it. I've got the sketch basically done.
When you work in like physical, do you normally like ink over your pencil lines?
I'll use marker, I'll use paint, today I'm going to be using this stuff. It's not a pastel, but like a chalk pastel.
Oh, is it like a gouache?
I don't know.
Okay. Because they're kind of like pastel sticks.
They look like pastel sticks, but they, here, I don't know if you'll be able to really see the texture on this, but it's like very,
okay.
Yeah, very grainy, and almost like an abrasive. It looks like chalk on concrete, and it feels like chalk, but it works really well on paper. And I guess a lot of chalk does work well on paper, but it's great to blend with. I can't remember, it's like art chalk. I don't know what they actually call it. This was like, I'll show you my box. Oh, I've had this a bunch of years at this point. It was like a box of art supplies my mom got me one year for Christmas a bunch of years ago.
That's a good box, though.
Yeah, a lot of colored pencils and watercolor pencils that I never use because the colored pencils aren't very good, and the watercolor pencils are really finicky as well. They're basically just like these chalks that I use, but worse, and in a pencil. And these little chalks I've been using, I use the fuck out of them. I bought a whole new box because this is the state of the ones that I have. And this whole top row is always really useful too. It even has like the finer chalks. It has like charcoal pencils and stuff like that. So yeah, it's somewhere, actually that's a really good way of looking at it. It's somewhere between chalk and charcoal.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I really, that's what I'm going to be using today. And I already put blue down. I might as well just keep going, huh? Basically done here. Oh, I wanted to lay out the chibist. Okay, let's get some black in here. I already know I want to do that with the jacket, so I'm just going to start lining that way. How are we doing on time, Sam? Okay. I have a very full day today. got a text from an acquaintance who asked me for some guidance with polyamory stuff. And I was like, hey, I am not an expert. and they were like, yeah, it's cool. Like, I just, I don't have, I guess doesn't have someone to talk to about it, so I thought I would help out. Just like, and I thought they were gonna I thought we were gonna do this over the phone, but they actually are gonna come and pick me up after stream. We're gonna go to a place called the Residuals Tavern. Yeah, I knew you'd like that. So that'll be fun. I got in the shower kind of late today because Kat, when we got home, was like, I'm gonna have to play Tears of the Kingdom. So we got the new Zelda game. So my morning was spent playing Zelda instead of planning what I should have been doing today.
No, that's okay. That's time well spent. I wish I could play the new Zelda. I don't have the proper system for it.
I know.
Why are they so expensive?
Yeah, Switch has not gone down in like a couple of years now, and I thought they would come down more by now, Like, Nintendo doesn't usually hold its, console value.
WTF, Morimoto.
Well, yeah, I think that's a big reason that things changed, was the change of hands in the company. Whoever's the current CEO is much more of like a...
Nintendo, do you hate children? Lower your prices.
Yeah, dude, the new Zelda game's like $20 more than most new games. Like, it was kind of weird. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying. Definitely annoying. But it's fucking... It's one of those things, like, at the same time that I think, like, I hate the games industry and what it's become, Nintendo, even, like, being a part of a lot of the issues that I have, they're still, like, putting out some of the best games that they've ever made. Like, Tears of the Kingdom is an incredible piece of art, and,
they really take their time and they don't rush things.
Yeah, especially for like techie companies
that doesn't do that.
Yeah, especially for like a tech company, Nintendo is like not necessarily on, not the worst it can be. Like, they actually delayed the release of Tears of the Kingdom because they wanted it to be as good a game as it could be and make sure the developers weren't like overworked. It was like an actual like concern and not just like, a lot of games we've heard the nightmares about, like
Blizzard.
Yeah, Blizzard, but like I think didn't Cyberpunk have a bunch of those same kind of like issues
I didn't follow
in its development?
Cyberpunk stuff. I definitely
know Blizzard's
about the
one of the biggest
stuff,
ones though.
So many people play WoW.
Yeah, that's right. I've never played WoW, so I forget like why Blizzard is Blizzard. I'm just like, what? I never think about it. But yeah, WoW is like one of the biggest games of all time, so that makes a lot of sense why people would have so many frustrations about them, especially with how WoW has just become more and more like a what's the word? Like a mainstay, I guess.
Yeah, it's an iconic name in the online gaming space. Like, if you're thinking about like those massive multi-online games, WoW is gonna come up. That's the fantasy one.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's really weird. I didn't get into online gaming until like last year.
That's okay.
Because I've always had Nintendos, and their online capabilities suck ass.
Yeah, but Wii was not great at it.
No. Most of their consoles are not great at it. Yeah. Even the Switch isn't that great at it, frankly. But
I'm trying to remember if the GameCube had, because I think it had like a place where you could plug it into the internet, but I don't know what it did.
No, you're absolutely right. GameCube did have the option to be online, but it did not function very well, and I don't think even kept it around as a feature for very long, and it was only even, I don't think it functioned for most games. Like, it was a pretty specific kind of, like, almost like how Nintendo would do, like, peripherals at that point for their, like how they would do like specific controllers for some games and stuff like that. Like,
here's
all the companies
Pokemon
are doing
games,
it, but
so here's a microphone so you can talk to the Pokemon.
yeah, shit like that. Frankly, I love it, and
It was kitschy
I almost
and fun.
compared to what they're doing now, I miss it. Like, kind of unbelievable. Yeah, fuck, dude. Like, Nintendo used to have like some of the best peripherals like you could get in gaming. Like, their controllers lasted forever. I still have working GameCube controllers. As long as you treated them well, they were fucking blast-proof, dude.
I've got a box of Nintendo 64 controllers sitting on my desk right here next to me.
Yeah, my 64 controller, my SNES still works. Like, Nintendo used to be one of the best companies in gaming, especially for like those kinds of things. Like,
Longevity.
I knew anyone who ever played a PlayStation went through like 10 controllers more than I did.
If you didn't go through
I'm not
the
trying to start.
PlayStation itself.
I'm not trying to reignite those fires. We've all had enough beef to last a lifetime between the two companies. And Nintendo won, so we don't have to argue anymore.
That's true.
But no,
they
yeah.
own Sonic now. They took the flagship property.
Oh, did I say Sega? I meant Sony.
Oh.
But yeah, either way, I mean, Nintendo has basically won the console war at this point. But yeah, all of the quality of like I've gone through, in the year and a half or so that we've had our Switch, we've gone through like we're on our 4th pair, so 8 controllers.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's good that I don't have a Switch.
It's fucked up because like they no longer have like Nintendo controllers. The controllers that they do make are made by like a third party that's slightly better than Mad Catz, but not much. Yeah, it really sucks because yeah, Nintendo used to be the top of the heap where that was concerned, and now,
So
I mean,
you're
I don't even
telling
know.
me that they're not doing quantity or quality anymore.
Nope. Yeah,
Sell your Nintendo stocks now, everyone.
no, I mean, they're gonna, that's the thing, is like, even with all of this shit going on, they're still like the most successful console company. Like, Nintendo has beat basically all of them. And like, as much as the little fanboy in me wants to celebrate, you know, my favorite gaming company that brought me, you know, Star Fox and Zelda and Mario, and Luigi's Mansion, and WarioWare, I can't really get behind it because all of, like, I'm not that excited about it because all of the things that I used to love about Nintendo, other than the quality of the actual games themselves, has just gone to shit. Like, the games are still incredible. I mean, they haven't made a Star Fox game, so I don't know. They should probably do that, goddammit. But, you know, the two, I mean, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are, like, the best Zelda games. It's just, it's hard to even argue anything else at this point. Like, I love Ocarina. I have tried to play Ocarina recently. Guess what? It's not as good as Breath of the Wild.
I think I tried to replay it like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, wow, okay. I didn't remember this. This is not the experience I recall.
Yeah, like, I genuinely
Majora's
love...
Mask, exactly the same though.
I've never played Majora's Mask all the way through. I have it on the, like, virtual console on the Switch now, but I've played like a total of 4 hours, and that's 2 2-hour sessions, and both times I ran around not knowing what the fuck I was supposed to do and got frustrated and turned off the game.
Yeah, that tracks.
I have no idea what you're supposed to do in Majora's Mask.
They don't give you guidance in that.
None! No guidance. And that was frustrating for me. But I appreciate that that's never been a Zelda game. They never do that. So I want to beat the game. I want to play it through so that I can get the whole story. And I know that it's one of the saddest, most intense, like, Zeldas. So I want to play it, but yeah, I've never been able to. Until recently, and now that I have the option, I'm like, I don't know if I want to put that much time into it.
It's an
when I could play,
yeah.
Especially when I got Tears of the Kingdom all queued up, shit. That game is so good.
You got the pretty polished one.
Yeah, exactly. So, shit. All right, we're basically done here. I'm gonna throw some more blue in the background. Should I line this? I'm gonna line it. I'm gonna do it in pen. Get a nice big ol' marker out. I'm just gonna hit the outlines.
It's so wild to see how different your style is in physical medium versus digital.
Yeah, no, it's a radically different approach. Like, I mean, that was what I realized when I got into digital, is I realized that all this time that I've been trying to, like, achieve some amount of realism, like, working towards that as a goal was finally achievable. I just had to switch mediums. I had to use digital. Yeah, and that gives me more access to, like, potentially, like, getting work that way. Because, like, I could sell art like this if I'm at an art show and I'm, like, presenting it for people to buy. Like, I'm not a bad salesman or anything like that. My art is interesting and I can get people, like, talking about it. So I have that going for me. But, it's not something that you see on the internet, on social media, and go, ooh, that's what I want to pay $100 for, or whatever, Mm-hmm. So having the access to do realism definitely gives me more options to potentially get work, but it's definitely very different from how I do art for myself, for my own pleasure.
I could see this hanging, like, in a coffee house.
Okay. Now we're just gonna hit it with that blue I had earlier. We're just gonna take that all over the place. And then I'm probably gonna blend it with my fingers and then have to take a break because my hands are a mess. Yeah. It's great. Honestly, I love this stuff. I wish I knew what it actually was so I could like intentionally get it. But it was one of the things that I bought a extra one before we left Santa Rosa because I knew exactly where they had them at Michael's, and I knew my current collection wasn't going to last for much longer. It's lasted, you know, we've been here 4 years, still around, although I definitely didn't do much physical art the first couple years we lived here. Just like, I mean, that's like comfort, that's space, that's time, all kinds of different things that just weren't working in favor of me doing physical art, but also like pursuit of digital art as like a serious thing, because I had started in Santa Rosa doing some digital stuff, but on a different program, or different programs I should say, and never really like, never really like had a good program to use. Well, I got the free one. And that works best. Yeah, no, that's true. There's probably better free ones that I could be using, but I've, you know, yeah, I've used a bunch of them at this point. I like the one I use currently. But yeah, so I didn't do a lot of digital or physical stuff in the first couple of years we lived here, but now I'm getting back into it. It feels great, so I like using these a lot. And it's been nice getting reacquainted with them, and also nice to know that I have an extra set for when this stuff runs out. Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see it. Roger Klotz is like one of my like fashion icons. I know. I mean, leather jacket, funny curly hair. I aspire to be Roger Klotz. Damn it. Okay. We got some funny lines. Let me turn this around for you, audience. Then you can see what I did. There we go. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna blend this after I come back from a little bathroom break. Maybe throw some more lines into the hair to define it. I'm pretty happy with that. Nasty little goblin. I'll be right back in a minute.
I want an internal
Choky Chicken. Choky Chicken. That was the name of the main fast food establishment in Rocco's modern life, and part of how Rocco was so based. Me and Sam were just talking about potentially when we come back. Yeah, I guess I've never talked about it on stream. Sorry if you've been missing our Saturday streams. It's the summer, and Saturdays are too beautiful to be sitting in front of a TV watching reality shows and hating every moment of my life for 5 hours. So I'm not doing that at the moment. We're picking a better day. We're picking a better time. Let us know, like, when you have availability. If you're watching right now, we'll cater it to you because you might be one of 5 people watching. We don't have a huge audience. We have a loyal audience. And if you tell us what day you want us to be live, we'll make it work for you, baby.
It's a small
We're
audience.
accommodating.
We can listen to you still.
Yeah. I you know, I'm more than willing to cater to an audience that's already here, rather than and building on it, rather than all of the like trying to make everything. What am I trying to say? All I'm saying is that Rocco was very based, and we might be doing some reactions to like old cartoons from our childhood, like Rocco, or maybe not Ren and Stimpy, because John Crispolucci evidently is a scumbag, and that makes me really sad.
Other good ones that I can think of. Oh my gosh, there's so many across the board. Like Recess. Did you watch Recess?
Yeah, Recess was fucking, on their shit. That would be another fun one, although I didn't really watch a lot of Recess when I was a kid. It definitely is one of those shows that I went and saw the movie, so I watched it enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to watch Hey Arnold. I'm sorry, but I don't care. I've
okay.
tried to rewatch Hey Arnold. I hate it. I don't know why. I think it's just all of the characters are too ugly to look at, except for Gerald, who's a little cutie pie. But every other character design... Huh?
Oh, would you like to talk about how controversial the Wild Thornberrys is?
No, I hated the Wild Thornberrys as a kid. I don't know. I rewatched the Rugrats Wild Thornberrys movie recently, and I hated it. It made me very angry, because why is Bruce Willis Spike? Bruce Willis shouldn't be Spike. That's wrong. That is 100% the worst casting you could have done. Spike is not a tough guy. He's a little sweetie patootie, and he's got a sweet little kind voice that's like, oh, I'm Spike. Yeah. I'm a little goblin. Oh, everybody loves me, and I have an easy life. Oh, I'm Spike. He's got a silly voice. Why is Bruce Willis the voice of Spike? That made me so upset. Also, maybe it is good though. I don't know. I'm pretty open. I just don't want to watch Hey Arnold. I'll watch Wild Thornberrys. I definitely didn't watch it much as a kid though, because I hated that show. Rugrats is actually an interesting one. Now that we're on that subject, Rugrats, I watched a fuck ton of Rugrats when I was a kid. That was like my jam.
It was such a good show back then.
Can we talk about? Yeah, and can we talk about how? Okay, so one of the cool things about Rocket Power, because I was started rewatching Rocket Power, and half of the music is just Devo. It's just like, this is just Devo. Because Mark Mothersbaugh is doing the music. And same, to a much lesser extent with Rugrats. But Mothersbaugh, Mark Mothersbaugh is just one of the most influential artists of my entire life, because I absolutely go fucking bonkers for Devo. They're one of the best punk bands. I don't care if you don't call yourself a punk band, Devo. You're a punk band in my heart. Because Devo is one of the most punk bands in my estimation. They weren't, the traditional punk sound. In fact, people often call them New Wave. But New Wave had no political aspirations, was banal, vapid garbage music for dumb shits. And Devo was fucking revolutionary in music and their politics and the way that they told stories. Devo was is one of the best bands that's ever existed. Especially like, man, those first like handful of albums just kick your fucking teeth in. My God, like Duty Now for the Future, New Traditionalist. These albums are just a banger after banger after banger after musical exploration. I mean, and then Mother's Bog goes on to produce all these great works of music for shows that I was watching as a kid that I didn't even realize how lucky I was to have this musical genius writing the fucking theme songs for my favorite cartoons. And then Jude goes on to be, has he won an Academy Award for his scores? Because he's better than Danny Elfman, IMO. Always has been. Fucking, what was Danny Elfman's band called? I don't care, they suck ass.
Boingo
Fuck
Boingo.
every one of their songs. Oingo Boingo. Fuck Oingo Boingo. It's my controversial musical opinion. Oingo Boingo is just the worst version of Devo. And yeah, not even. They can't even come close, because Devo is insane. The way that their instruments sound, the way that they recorded everything, just the techniques that they used that ended up becoming like standards. Devo broke rules and made things like their own. Music, it was their playground, and they are, yeah, and then Mother's Bog's done all kinds of great scores for films that are just absolutely spectacular, and it don't seem like they were made by the guy who was in Devo for like, is still in Devo, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure, or wait, Mark wasn't the one who died, right? Fuck, I don't remember. Either way, I think Devo, even though they've lost, they're one of their original members, is still playing gigs. And I'm not mad about it. I think the world needs Devo. I'm killing this pen. I don't know if you know this, but felt tip markers really don't like chalk. You know what I can do? That's fine. I did enough with the marker. Do the rest with the chalk. No sweat, buddy. You gotta keep wet in the desert. Gotta get your moist on in that desert summer. Alrighty. feel like you look weird without eyebrows, but I don't want to give you eyebrows. What if I just do little doots? Doot? Little doot. Yeah, baby. I like that. Okay. Oh man, I don't think I sent it to you yet, but I finished Pierce Brosnan's final form. Like, I went hard. I'll have to send it to you. Dope, dope, dope. Yeah, that was a fun one. It's funny because I tried a little bit when I was younger to do DBZ fan art because I was mad for that shit. I love DBZ. I still do. No matter how silly and maybe not like the kind of anime I watch anymore, it's still like one of my favorites. It always will be. Because it's fun, and I like them. Oh! I didn't watch Sailor Moon as a kid. Yeah. I didn't get into Sailor Moon until more recently. Kat started rewatching it, and I was like, oh, I've never seen this, and then I love it. Yeah, I didn't watch Sailor Moon, but I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z. That was my shit. But I've never, like, I tried to do some when I was a kid, but I never really did any, like, DBZ fan art that, like, I would tell you about or ever show anybody. And this was before I, like, ever even knew that I liked drawing, really. I mean, it was just something to do. I never thought I'd do this, because honestly, I'm not, like, naturally gifted in any sense of by any stretch of the imagination. This is my physical art. Look at it. It's like I'm not, I was never I never thought I'd be where I am now as an artist. Let's just leave it at that. So yeah. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I definitely feel differently about it now, and would approach it differently if I had known. But I was a kid when I started, and don't exactly, like, I didn't exactly have, like, a lot of people telling me that there were different kinds of art and artists and movements of art. That was all stuff that I found out in my 20s, and, like, meeting artists and knowing artists. Like, that was where a lot of those lessons were learned. And, like, I did my own little art history research. I think I talked about during our the redrawing art I love episode that I didn't end up redrawing any art I love, which is very me. But yeah, let's see. So yeah, I never did any DBZ fan art that but so this was it was a fun time, like really having to like really explore Toriyama's like work in that way for the first time. Like that was exciting, and I definitely have been playing a lot of GoldenEye because that's one of the virtual console games that I like needed to go back through, because I didn't have like too much of a memory of the actual like story campaign. I never really, I think I watched GoldenEye the movie like one time ever, so I don't have like the clearest memory of the story or anything like that. So it was kind of like going back through that game. Yeah, the one-shot, one-kill gun. Yeah. Oh yeah. And the odd job cheat, where you're just shorter than everyone and no one can shoot you because you're too short and they have to look down at you, and the controls are really frustrating. That was the classic. Oh, fuck. Okay. Alright, we're done blending because I'm gonna make a mess. Wait, I just have to... Okay, I have to focus first. Let me just focus. No. Get all into this, but here we are. Because this is the frustrating part that I have to like laser focus on. You can make a lot of mistakes, but honestly, I always think it's a mistake, and then I look at it and I'm like, no, this is fucking dope. I'm not gonna blend the shirt because I like that texture for it. Let's do the background. Yeah, dude, I really like this stuff. Thank you. Yeah. Alright, we're in our last hour here, friends. It's been lovely doodling with you today. Might actually go a little before 7 today, if that's cool with you, Sam. We'll just see how far I get here. There we go. One of the only issues with this stuff is it gets fucking everywhere. Star Wars, Sam? I forgot. God, I just rewatched the prequels too. Yeah. Yeah. And from a franchise that reuses the phrase, I have a bad feeling about this, that's saying a lot. Okay. I think this is done. I don't want to touch it anymore, so it's done.
It's very pretty.
There we go. Is that in frame?
Up a little bit more. Up. Boom.
There you go. Oh. Alright, that was fun. Yeah, I guess I'll just do some plugs and then get out of here. 'Cause I have, yeah,
You got things
stuff
to
I gotta
do.
do. Still, keep your eye out for the Iron Hearts. We've got a couple episodes recorded. Sam's working through the editing for those and
I'm
pushing the
almost
production
done
value
editing
to its
the
max.
first one. I'm gonna finish editing it today, probably.
Fuck yeah. I can't wait to see it. I'm super excited about this episode. Both the episodes we've recorded so far are just some of the most fun I've had playing D&D in a long time. I think I missed it a lot as well. So it's nice to be back in that headspace, playing pretend with my buddies. Sam's kicking ass with the production value, so it's going to look even better than it did before. I can't wait for you to see that.
I'm only making improvements to myself
yeah.
and to the streams.
Yeah. What else? Saturday streams are on hold, so hit me up, me or Sam, if you have any suggestions or commentary or feelings about the last, all the reality shows we did, critiques,
Yeah, any
any
feedback
criticism
is good
you'd
feedback.
like. Any feedback, yeah. Hit me or Sam up. If you have any ideas for our new second stream of the week, because I do want to do this more often. It's I just think that time slot was not my favorite, especially for the time of the year. So, yeah. Let us know what you think. Let me know what I should do next week. I'm always looking for suggestions for drawings. Today was a nice kind of break from the digital stuff. Maybe I'll come and do that again. What do you think? Let me know. Any suggestions, anything at all. I'm very open. Yeah. Oh, I'm also hopefully going to start doing Uwick and the Strange Place games again. We've had some interest, and I love running those games, so that definitely is hopefully coming soon. We'll have live games going, probably a little earlier than we used to run them, and I will be making sure that when we start out, I'm going to be letting you know. Any minors or impressionable people in the audience should get out, because it will be more adult. Not like we're not going to break TOS or anything like that, but we're all little goblins, and You Awaken in a Strange Place, mature themes. You Awaken in a Strange Place brings stuff out in you because you're improvising everything. It's hard to keep it all PG. So yeah, if you want to be a player, hit me up. We'll, I'm not saying for sure you're in, but hit me up. We'll have a conversation. Maybe you'll fit right in. Maybe it'll be a great, a long friendship. Who knows? Things happen. Yeah, join our Disco. Speaking of Discord, yeah, join the Discord if you aren't a part of it. That's where we sometimes we'll spitball ideas in chat. We'll talk about programs we have upcoming. We do casting calls there as well. So join the Discord. Follow us on social media. You can find us at Nerdcrafty everywhere. Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you want to give us a little elevator pitch? Okay. Fair enough. Everything in due time. So yeah, join the Disco. And follow us on social media. You can find us at Nerdcrafty everywhere. You can find me at Lava Submersible on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find me other places on social media, but I don't do as much posting there. So I haven't been posting on TikTok basically at all, but I have like a jillion videos up there already, so you could spend a couple hours watching everything I've done there. You can follow us on YouTube. That's another great idea. Or our Patreon. Hopefully Sam is absolutely spamming the hell out of you with some links right now. If you like what I did today, feel free to help me out with a little bit of that little scratchola. Wink, wink, winking awkwardly. But yeah, if you feel like what I did today was worth a little bit of your hard-earned cash, fucking slide it over to my my Venmo. Any help you can give is massively appreciated. I feel like we made some art today. Yeah. Other than that, we've got, I mentioned You Awaken, we've got, I don't know if we're planning on anything, but there is International Tabletop Day coming up next month. So, we might. Oh, okay. So you might be getting some Iron Hearts. Alright. Okay. So keep your eyes open. We might be doing some stuff for probably a little bit less than last year. Last year was a hell of a thing. Our first year as a channel, I think we went hard, and I think we did great stuff. But I think this year we'll probably be doing a little bit less. We haven't done as much pre-planning for it, but we might have some more stuff for you other than just Iron Hearts. But who knows? Maybe just Iron Hearts, and that's gonna be good enough. All right. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna scooch. I think that's all we have to plug at the moment. Fucking take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And good journeys.